It's time for hemp. So grab your bowls, get your lighters, or get your vape pens, or whatever it is that you do. Let everybody know how important it is to end cannabis prohibition. And we'll be right back right after this.
You are listening to the Time for Hemp Global Broadcasting Network. The only broadcasting network dedicated to ending the global war on drugs on iHeartRadio. Please share us with your friends.
Hey, Bob. What's up, man?
I'm just surfing all over the web, trying to find some info on medical marijuana and the best strains of cannabis, advice for growers.
Looks like you're having a hard time, bro.
There's got to be a million websites out there.
True, but you really only need one website to find out what you need. It'll save you a bunch of time.
Sounds great. What is it?
Check out Canafo.com. Cannafo.com.
That's right, Tommy and Bob. Canafo.com is the world's first online directory, marketplace, news portal, growing advice resource, and social media platform for all things cannabis.
Dude, where's that voice coming from?
You hear that too? Maybe we ought to cut back a little.
Canafo.com is the Google, Facebook, and Craigslist of cannabis. It even has its own social media platform. Canafo.com puts everything cannabis in one place for consumers, business, and growers. Canafo.com is a free service where you can find over 9,000 different strains of cannabis.
Whoa!
Shop cannabis classifieds and much, much more. Canafo.com. Visit today and get in the know with Canafo.
Look at all that money, yeah, the money that they spend. Take another look now and take some time for hemp. Don't cut trees for paper, cause it hurts the environment. Stop deforestation, yeah, it's time for hemp. Oh, an acre of hemp makes 20 barrels of oil. No need for pesticides to poison all our soil. People got no food, they got no clothes, they got no rest. Well, right now it's time for hemp.
Thank you for taking Time for Hemp. I am your host, Casper Leach. You are watching the Time for Hemp news feed preview. We kind of give you an idea of some of the stuff that we put into our news feed so that you might be interested in subscribing to it on our Twitter and on our Facebook and our LinkedIn and our Google Plus. And we post these headlines from all around the world on many different platforms. And that way we can do everything that we can to help get the message out about how important it is to end cannabis prohibition. I've had a couple of people write in and say, Casper, why is it that you wear those silly bow ties? And the reason why I wear these silly bow ties, because I live here in Portland, Oregon, or Portland, Oregon. Yeah, oh baby. And here in Portland, Oregon, we have a senator that represents us called Earl Blumenhauser, or Earl Blow My Trousers, or something like that. Anyway, he's very pro-cannabis. He's very pro-industrial hemp. He's very pro-medical cannabis. He's helped put some bills forward on the Senate floor, and he's worked diligently here in the state to end cannabis prohibition here in Oregon and to help hemp become a growing cash crop and medical cannabis become a growing solution to our growing illnesses here in the community. And as long as we have him in office, whenever I get all gussied up and get my Sunday going to church meeting clothes, because I never go to church on Sunday anyway, I got no place to wear them, I put on my tie that says, "Thank you, Mr. Blumenhauser," or "Blow My Trouser," or look it up, Google it, and for being a good representative of those of us who here in the Portland, Oregon area really enjoy taking time for hemp. Now, if you live someplace in the United States where you can't legally sit here and do this, because I can. In fact, I got plants growing in my apartment because I can. And I'll be showing you some of those in some of the upcoming episodes, and we'll be talking to the people who provide us with the grow tents and the supplies. But anyway, I can do this, but if you can't do this, you need to get a hold of your legislatures, and you need to get a hold of the people in your community and help educate them about why cannabis prohibition is silly. Because as long as you have something outlawed, jeepers, people are going to want it. But anytime that you want to legalize it and tax it, then, the black market goes away, which is pretty good. The kids can't get it because you have to show an ID and prove that you are allowed to take cannabis as a medical patient, or you're old enough to consume it for recreational purposes. Yeah, baby. And, the prices come down, and also, you get better product. You don't have to worry about, was this sprayed with some kind of chemical to keep bugs off of it during a certain cycle of its growing, and is there some kind of like powder that was sprinkled on it that was it laced with anything? Is it really got the amount of THC that the dealer says that it has? That kind of stuff where you can get it tested and checked. And that's why there's a lot of places like Oregon and Washington and jeepers, California and Nevada and Arizona and Colorado. Ever hear of that? And there's a handful of others that have legalized cannabis for medicinal use and or recreational use, and are even growing hemp that makes 50,000 different products. One of the cool things too about cannabis is that people don't seem to realize it, because if it's not legal in your state, right? But if you're living in a state where it's legal, like I do, then you get to enjoy it. And guess what? Just think for a minute. Guess what? Tourists come to town. That's right. Tourists come to town. And from all around the world, too, as a matter of fact. They come to check out your product, and they come to find how interesting it is to be able to legally sit down and enjoy it in a restaurant, and to be able to legally sit down and enjoy it, in a train station or in front of a police officer, which is also pretty cool, I have to say. And, Las Vegas is a cool place to be to begin with. I mean, they've got great shows. They've got all-you-can-eat buffets for just a few bucks, right? But now they've got marijuana tourism. And I tell you, they ran out of cannabis. Like the first week, recreational cannabis, their stores sold out. They made a lot of revenue on taxes, and it rattled the liquor industry, so much so that they started contacting the governor by phone saying, maybe we should not do this. I don't know. And so it was rather interesting. Now, on our Twitty feed and our news feed, it's kind of like a news clipper where we find interesting articles and interesting things to share with people that they think, okay, well, that would be pretty cool. Why don't I share that with my friends, or why don't I share that with my mom and dad and let them know, hey, that would be a pretty cool thing to do, right? Well, so once in a while we'll find an interesting news story that we want to share with you that's from CNN or ABC or CSNBC, but because it's focused on cannabis, medical marijuana, whatever, we have a right to use it, and it's a very short piece. It's about 1 or 2 minutes, and and it's something that you really need. And then we put it in our news feed and encourage you to go and visit their website and let them know that they were mentioned here on the big broadcast, and you found them here on Time for Hemp. So with that said, let's go and check out the news story that I came across this week that I wanted to share with you.
The legal use of marijuana is the latest temptation available to tens of millions of people who visit Las Vegas each year. Nevada last month became the 8th state to allow the sale of recreational pot to adults 21 and over. But even as Las Vegas restricts what people can do after they legally buy their pot, Mark Strassman is on the Strip with what one say is discrepancies in the law. Mark, good morning.
Good morning. This is the Essence Cannabis Dispensary, which sells 50 different strains of legal marijuana. This brand is called Venom OG. A gram of it costs $18, cash only. But for tourists, the legal challenge starts as soon as you walk out the front door.
Anything goes in Vegas, right? Wrong. On the Strip, buying marijuana legally is one thing, smoking it is another. Nevada law mandates that legally bought marijuana be consumed in a private residence. Nothing public, which includes casinos, hotels, cars, and sidewalks. Armin Yamidjian, who owns this dispensary, says the law puts most of his customers in a tough spot.
About 70 to 80% are tourists.
And these people have no private space to go to because they don't live here.
Well, that's the problem. No other industry in the world can you buy a product and then not use it anywhere. It's silly.
In the 8 states that have legalized marijuana, implementing the new drug laws has been challenging for consumers. For instance, people in California and Massachusetts may possess it or grow it, but not buy or sell it legally until next year. Sales are legal in Colorado, Nevada, and Washington, but for now, public consumption is banned. State Senator Tick Sagerblum supported legalizing marijuana here.
People are already buying it, people are using it, so this is not something new. It's just let's go ahead and take the next step and acknowledge that fact and provide a venue for them where they can have fun.
Marijuana has a place in Sin City.
Exactly. Marijuana is perfect for Sin City.
But for now, Vegas casinos and hotels have too much at stake to allow it. Gaming is a $13 billion a year business in this state. Casino licenses require following federal, state, and local laws.
This is the marijuana industry. This is the gaming industry. And the two shall never meet.
Tony Alamo chairs the Nevada Gaming Commission.
But at the end of the day, it's very clear-cut. It's against federal law. And until the federal law changes, that's the standard they have to maintain.
25-year-old David Harper is visiting from Houston. The marijuana he bought legally, he'll smoke illegally.
Gotta be discreet, but oh yeah, for sure.
And you're not the only one.
I'm definitely not the only one.
There is no consensus about the solution here. The local marijuana industry is pushing to legalize pot cafes, the kind they have overseas in Amsterdam, and the kind that Colorado will roll out later this month. But for now, Margaret, what tourists buy in Vegas, they can't use in Vegas.
Mark, thank you.
So anyway, that's on our news feed, and I thought you'd find that interesting. A lot of you have got vacations coming up, and a lot of you are traveling to Vegas within the next week to two, to a month or two. Maybe, I mean, a lot of people are going in and out there. It's a great place for the holidays at Christmas and New Year's Eve. So before you pack your suitcase and get heading down the road, at least you have an idea what to expect when you go to Vegas. Sometimes what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, which means if you get arrested in Vegas, you could end up staying in Vegas a little longer than you expected. Just saying. And, you know, cannabis has a way of affecting every aspect of our life, and our politicians like to do what they can to make it difficult to exercise your freedom as a cannabis patient. Let's say you need medical marijuana, you need medical cannabis for a tumor that you've got, or help you with your pain, or help you with Crohn's disease, right? But you live alone, and there's a rough group of people live in your neighborhood, and you got some money and cash in the house, and you've also got cannabis, your prescription of cannabis. But guess what you can't have? That's right. No toking and shooting, says the feds. If you have a cannabis prescription, oh jeepers, or if you have a state that you live in has a law that says you're allowed to have recreational cannabis for personal use, well, guess what? The feds don't care. They say that you're breaking a federal law, and if you're doing that, you cannot have a weapon. So you have got to pick between the two. You got to choose between the weapon to defend yourself in case somebody kicks in the door, tries to take your money, tries to kill your dog, which oftentimes is the police that are kicking in the door and trying to take your money and forfeiture. And they usually kill your dog, and even though it's a little poodle, they say it was attacking them. Yeah, jeepers, right. So, anyway, like I said, we are a group of people here who work to get the information out from all around the world about how important it is to end cannabis prohibition. So, what we want to do is we want to share this little news story with you. And then again, you'll find it in our news feed, on our Tweety, and our Facebook, etc. And if you like it, then please, by all means, do share it with your friends and let them know that you heard about it here on the big broadcast.
Medical marijuana users will likely not be able to buy a gun.
NBC2 has learned a recent change to a federal form makes it clear a person who has been prescribed medical marijuana might be giving up their Second Amendment rights. Everyone who buys a gun fills out a ATF form that asks you 9 questions about your lifestyle. One of them is whether you use marijuana, and it says that even if medical marijuana is legal where you live, it's still illegal under federal law.
If they legally are accessing medicine to treat their debilitating diseases, they now could possibly forfeit their right to bear arms.
The names of people prescribed marijuana in Florida are confidential except to law enforcement. We asked the Department of Law Enforcement if they plan to begin checking those names against the people who are applying for gun purchases, but they have not gotten back to us.
See, I wasn't kidding. You know, they do everything they can to get all up in your business and to make everything just as difficult as they can and find a way to tax you for this and charge you for a license for that and get their money out of your pocket and into their pockets as just any way that they can. And I don't know, you know, they produce so many bills and laws. I mean, they can't even read them as fast as they create them. It's just very, very sad, which is one of the reasons why we put together this news feed, and we ask that you share it with your friends. And you can subscribe to us. You find us on Twitter, find us on Facebook, find us on YouTube, Tumblr, SoundCloud, any place that sound is found on the internet. We are around making sound. Please share us with your friends. And don't forget, we got a 24-hour a day, 7-day a week, all cannabis, all the time broadcast that you can listen to through iHeartRadio and Tumblr and on our website and Spreaker. And they got apps that you can put them down there. We got an Android app you can listen to us in your smartphones, and you can find us in your car on iHeart. And so anyway, what we're trying to do is end cannabis prohibition and get the message out. And with media changing the way it is, and so many different computer gadgets coming out, and with the FCC doing so many fun things, and with Congress changing the rules of the internet, and the UN taking over the internet, big corporations spending more money than the little guy can, it's going to be more and more and more and more and more important that you share us with your friends. You share our websites, you share our MP3s, you share our blogs, you share our sponsors. You go and let our sponsors know that you heard about them here on the big broadcast, as a matter of fact. So anyway, speaking of sponsors, we're going to take a sponsor break, and then when we come back, we're going to find out what else is on the news feed today. Also, we had a little interview with Mae Nutt last week, and people liked it. Mae Nutt's interview was really a 15-minute length, but I didn't want to put the whole thing out because I'm trying to keep these things short, right? So I only put out like 2 minutes of the interview. And I got a handful of letters from people who were watching the show and asked if there was any more of that interview that they could watch. So Today, we're going to end the show on the Mae Nutt interview full. So if you want to get your full nut, you'll be able to do that today on the show. Mae Nutt is a pioneer in the medical cannabis movement. She had a son who was dying of, well, I'll let you listen to it, but it's really riveting, and I think that you're going to want to share it with your friends.
Serious Seeds is your source for quality cannabis and sativa seeds. Serious Seeds are the creators of legendary strains like AK-47, Bubblegum, Chronic, Cali Mist, and White Russian. The AK-47 is probably the most awarded strain on the planet. The high THC content of AK-47 makes it the perfect medical strain for patients seeking quick pain relief. Cali Mist is an almost pure sativa. Female medical cannabis patients have reported that this strain helps relieve menstrual cramps. Serious Seeds just acquired another Dutch high-quality seed bank, Magus Genetics. From now on, Serious Seeds can offer you even more award-winning strains. The fine folks at Serious Seeds strive to breed the best cannabis genetics that they can find, so patients can rely on the effectiveness of their medicine. Go to SeriousSeeds.com to grow your medicine. That site again is SeriousSeeds.com.
Hello, I'm Judy Swallows, field reporter on Time for Hemp. As a journalist, I am having fun being a member of this growing team. The assignments I get to cover are amazing. Much like this post found on our Twitter and Facebook news feed today. How the Confederated Tribes of the Colville Reservation in the state of Washington are growing some of the first industrial hemp. Below the hills that hug the southern border of the Colville Reservation is 60 acres of bright green hemp plants fanning their leaves to collect the sunlight along the Columbia River. These hemp plants, unlike their cousin, marijuana, which is sold for medicinal and recreational purposes, has next to no presence of the psychoactive compound THC, but can be used in thousands of ways. Fibers made from this plant can be used for clothing, building supplies, and paper. Seeds from the plant can be used in food and cosmetics. They produce an oil that can be used for cooking and heating and even fuel to run cars with. And so much more. The crop is among the first permitted under Washington state's Industrial Hemp Research Pilot Program, and the first on tribal land. If you happen to get chance to read this report and like it, give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. Also, make it a point to visit Time for Hemp and listen to our live stream music and talk. We are the only 24-hour-a-day, 7 days a week. All cannabis. All the time. Broadcast on iHeartRadio. I'm Judy Swallows on the Time for Hemp Broadcasting Network. That does it for me today.
I love you, Judy. You're great. I like having her as part of our team. She's a great field reporter. And send me some cards and letters at Casper@timeforhemp.com and let me know what you think of her as well. So anyway, we are talking about what is on our little news feed that we put out every day. About 50,000 people follow us on Twitter. We got a huge following on Facebook. Our audience is growing at the time-for-hemp.com. That's the number 4. You can also go to timeforhemp.com without the hyphens and still find us. And please share us with your friends. At the bottom of each HTML is a free song that you can download and keep forever and share with your friends. It's all about cannabis. It's all about marijuana. So if you're looking for some free marijuana music, you can find at least one free MP3 to download at the bottom of each of the HTMLs on our website. So anyway, we are also discovering that as we go down the path that there's a lot of stresses in life, and apparently being a mom can be a stress. And so that's why we are focusing on moms right now. And recently there was a report on Fox News about how moms turn to cannabis to take care of their stress, because I guess, children can, I don't know, every time I meet a child, they're like a little angel. They're always well behaved. And so I imagine being a parent must be really easy, because you probably have a little helper around the house that just wants to do everything they can to make life easy for you and your spouse. But maybe, I don't know, once in a while that child might have a bad day and therefore get on your nerve or be a little rambunctious every once in a while, right? And so apparently moms are turning to cannabis, I guess, to wean off the stress. So I thought it would be a great report to share in our news feed, and that if you found it of interest, give it a thumbs up, make comment on it, share it with your friends, and also let me know what you think of the work that we're doing. That would be pretty cool. But to all the moms out there, I salute you, and we here at Time for Hemp send you our love and respect for all that you do. And so you can listen to this report that I think was important enough to share with you.
Does this shock you? It doesn't really shock me. I mean, when you look at the move of our culture, moving toward basically do whatever makes you feel good. But I think one of the major issues is that because so many in our culture are glamorizing the use of recreational marijuana, I believe as a result, we are misdiagnosing why people are actually using it in the first place. Take a look on Google and read some of the articles you find there. One would think it's quite fashionable right now to smoke recreationally. They glamorize it? They glamorize it all the time. And in fact, I mean, and I guess it really is cooler to say I smoke a little weed on the side versus having to admit that you have an opiate addiction, or to admit that you have a mental illness as well. According to the survey that you're referencing, women are actually replacing antidepressant, opiates, as well as alcohol with marijuana. So they are essentially self-medicating, and it's kind of like replacing an M16 rifle with a machete. They're both they're both very dangerous.
Because some of these moms would argue that it's not as dangerous, and that's why they're smoking marijuana versus drinking as parents. But usually you hear when parents have children, they want to be a good example to their kids. I know. And that this can be a gateway drug, many would argue. So I was shocked to see these statistics. 63% of the women surveyed in this California survey were smoking pot every day.
Every day. And in fact, on average, they spend more on marijuana than they do on tobacco, alcohol, and personal care combined. And yet we have many who would tell us that it's not addictive, and yet they're using it every day. I mean, I like pasta, but I don't eat it every day.
Right. Is that just an excuse then? Do you think they're trying to push that narrative so that it's okay, it's not dangerous, because they want to be able to do it and they want to feel better about what they're doing?
I mean, there are differing opinions or reasons for wanting to push it. When you're talking to legislators, Colorado just got $200 million in tax revenue off of $1 billion in sales, so there's their impetus.
This is what's interesting, too. If you're watching and you work in California, the majority of your coworkers might be high, because this study says 58% of working professionals consume cannabis, 31% consume cannabis while they're on the job. Okay, so 31% could be at work today if you live in California high.
And what's really interesting about that number, that 17% of them work in the technical field. So now that could be your local Apple store or the air traffic control on the airplane you're getting ready to take. So we really don't know. But nonetheless, I really believe that we are missing an opportunity by misdiagnosing why people are actually using it. We have an opiate as well as a mental health disorder crisis in our nation right now, and many people are self-medicating and masking it.
Thank you so much for being with us, Kathy.
Thank
Great to see you.
Okay, now don't be mad at me. I'm not the person who said all that. I'm just the messenger, and that's why we put it in the news feed down there. Hello, so that you can check it out, share it with your friends, and You can send cards and letters to the anchor. You can send cards and letters to the people who produce the show, to the people who sponsor this show. In fact, you can even let our sponsors know how grateful you are that they sponsor us, so that you can learn about crap like that and share it with your friends and educate perhaps the producers and the directors and the anchors and the writers of that team. So, well, anyway, jeepers. We're going to take another commercial break, and then we're going to come right back here on the big broadcast and let everybody know how important it is to take time for hemp.
Have you ever had a problem with overcooking your cannabis oil? You probably wanted to rip your hair out when you burned off all the THC, right? I even cried one time when my brownies failed to make a good impression at the party. Well, I stopped crying when I found Magical Butter. Magical Butter is a device with a microprocessor controlled program sequencer. It was designed by a scientist and a chemist to precisely extract the benefits of various herbs. Magical Butter easily makes botanical butter, oils, tinctures, lotions, sauces, and more. Magical Butter heats your oil and your herbs at the perfect temperature every time. Check us out at magicalbutter.com because it's magical. Okay, there's a lot of science and chemistry involved, but it sure works like magic.
You are listening to the Time for Hemp Global Broadcasting Network. Please share us with your friends.
And we do mean that. Please share us with your friends. Let everybody know how important it is to take time for hemp to end cannabis prohibition. Get involved in your organization. Buy books from authors who are trying to get the message out. Support expos that are bringing communities together and bringing speakers from outside into the community. Do what you can to let the whole world know that we need our patients who need medical cannabis to stop being considered criminals, and we need our farmers to be able to grow a great cash crop that would allow us to produce not only 50,000 different products, but also a lot of jobs here at home and a lot of tax revenue. So, and it's also good for the earth, of course. Everything that you use from the earth is always good for the earth, right? Don't need to go on that song and dance. But medical cannabis has been a real sticking stone for a lot of people because they get sick and they can't get the medication that they need. And that's why I think it's so important that if you get a chance to share this information that Mae Nutt's going to share. She is like more than a pioneer of the cannabis movement. She's like everybody's mom. She's the kind of person you want in your corner when you need a good fighter and someone who's determined to keep you healthy and keep you strong. And Mae Nutt, well, I sure miss her, and it was an honor to have met her. And she is a cornerstone of the cannabis movement. And if you get a chance, you might research her. So, anyway, and that's one of the important things about our website. You know, this is our website right here, timeforhemp.com. And when you check it out, like we got our network archives. So when you click on that, what happens is it takes you to where? Our network archives. And you can scan down there and find the name of the show that you're interested in. And in this case, it would be like Time for Hemp. Here's the host. So you can click on the bio page to learn about me. Or you can click on one of the archive pages. And then when it finally loads in, you can scan down through. I'm going to make the font a little larger. I got to work on that. But at least it's all there. You can see who the joint host is, who the guests are. And here's Franco the farmer. He's also passed away. He was one of the big seed developers in our community. And if you get a chance to... Anyway, all you got to do is just hit on the date like that, and it pops up.
Happening at all. So it's been a lot.
Yeah. In my email, literally hundreds of people write me every week from all over.
If you want to download it, you just right-click it, and then you just hit save audio as. So, and we got thousands, literally thousands of MP3s that are free to download. And like I said, we got fun stuff too that is really cool. We've got laughter, and I think is important. It's a great way to heal your spirit, heal your soul. So we got cartoons and comedians to share with you, and like I said, at the bottom of almost every single web page. Well, of course, now that I'm trying to find it, it's not going to be there, right? So jeepers! But at the bottom of almost every single web page, you will find at least one. Enjoy this free MP3 music download, Get High by Brandy Clark, as an example. So there's a lot to enjoy on the website. It's all free. You can share it with your friends. You come over here, you hit the play button. When you do, you start to listen to the Time for Hemp live stream.
What I found out over the years of making soils is a lot of my competitors, they use cheap inputs, right? They'll use the cheapest inputs, not looking for a biodynamic situation, but they are looking for a compost that you can get here for, $50.
Currently, what's broadcasting, I think, is The Farmer in the Sky. You can check it out on our live stream at time-for-hemp.com, where you can find us on Twitter, iHeart. We got an Android. We're on Spreaker, Tumblr, SoundCloud, iTunes, Facebook, YouTube, Roku, and good golly, Miss Molly, other places. We've also got a newsletter. We've got a blog. So please, please, please share us with your friends and let your friends know how important it is to take time for hemp. Well, I don't want to be doing a big plug for us, but as I've said in the past few videos, big media and these big platforms are doing what they can to make the alternative news disappear. And so it's really important that our audience don't let us disappear, but our audience surround us and love us and raise us up so that we can get louder and louder and louder and be harder to ignore. And with that said, please, if you get a chance, embrace Mae Nutt, even though she is gone, with your spirit and your mind. I'm sure wherever she's at she's going to feel your love, and know that the next time you see me, you'll know that it's time for hemp.
What kind of response did you get when you went public? Did you get harassed? Did the police department come down on you?
It was amazing. The way I describe it, and have described it for many years, is it rained marijuana on our house.
Wow.
The article that I read about finding it on the doorstep and I laughed, was totally true. We found it in brown paper bags on our doorstep. We got it through the mail, postage paid. We also got it in the mailbox. We live in a rural area and we have a rural mailbox. Found it in the mailbox, found it on the back porch, and had many people deliver it to us.
Wow. Okay, and we'll be right back after this. We're talking with Mae Nutt today, and Mae, now what I understand is that you began a crusade in your state to re-legalize hemp for medical purposes that brought forth on October 10th, 1979, a history-making policy within your state. Isn't that correct?
That's true.
Could you
That's true.
share that?
We, when we decided to go public, we decided that we needed to be legal. And so we contacted the legislature to see if there was a possibility that Michigan could do this, and found that someone else had been there before us, and it was in the process. So we joined the process. Keith went with us in early October. And then again, late in October, he was very ill, and we went without him. And it went 100 to nothing in the Senate, and I've forgotten what the count was in the House. But yes, indeed, it did go. And
now, does that mean that in Michigan, if the people can start using it for medical purposes?
Doesn't mean that. Once the bill is passed, then it has to be signed.
Okay.
And it was signed on October 22nd, 1979, by the Lieutenant Governor of the state of Michigan, and that was the day our son died. So, I have to get my breath. He never received legal marijuana. And then after that, it was over a year before the state received the marijuana. The federal government stands in your way, and they're not cooperative. But Michigan and 33 other states did pass marijuana laws, and indeed the area we live in received the marijuana. In fact, I received it personally from the state. And the doctor that took care of Keith had encouraged me to work on the legality of it, and he got a license. And as time went on, he said to me, Mae, I can't do this anymore. And I was hurt. And
now, from what I understand, too, not only was the government slow in getting the hemp, the marijuana, into the state, but during this time, while it was coming in, you were also getting hemp to other patients and other people within the
not
community.
after it got legal.
Okay.
Not after it got legal. Before it got legal. When Keith died, we had a great deal of marijuana.
Okay.
And I knew what it would do, and I would not throw it away.
Okay.
And I did not play games about it. And yes, then the doctor said to me, he would send me patients, I used to call them our patients, and say, you know, if someone was saying, doctor, I'm going to quit, dying can't be worse, and he would send them to me. And
well, now, didn't you feel like you were breaking a law? Now, I understand that people of your generation have an ingrained thought when it comes to hemp, to marijuana.
Brainwashing, it's called.
Yeah. That because it's illegal, it shouldn't even be discussed, let alone considered. And now yet you're...
Okay, I'm in a different category. Yes, it's illegal, and I frowned on my children using it. But we're talking about life and death. We're talking about people. It's not even a quality of life, which is important, but it's life and death. And people, there are many people who will die, and I know of several who have survived because they were able to use marijuana. A dad told me just this year, that his son had cancer, and he refused to take the treatment. And so one of his buddies got him stoned, so he was so happy he really didn't care what he was doing, unaware that it could help the nausea. And so he continued his treatment, and the young man is alive and well today.
Now, you shared with me that there was a Vietnam vet who was paralyzed.
I talked to him this year. Mm-hmm.
And could you tell that?
Okay, he's a representative of disabled veterans in southern Illinois. And he told me he had several vertebrae damaged during the war, and he did some rehab in a hospital in Colorado. And before he left, his physician took him aside and said, I do not want you to take the drugs that the Veterans Organization or the hospital is going to prescribe for you. He said, I want you to take marijuana, use marijuana, smoke it. And the young man, he said he was incontinent with his bladder and his bowels and was paralyzed. He said in 5 years he got so he could walk 5 miles.
Wow.
He could also take a few steps without a walker, and that his incontinence was under control.
Now, I understand that AIDS sufferers, people who are dealing with that disease, can find relief with
Absolutely.
with hemp.
There's an organization called MARS, Marijuana AIDS Research Service, and it's to help them apply for legal marijuana. It's not going, well, it's going better than others have, but it's very slow. There's so many of them, and the government is saying they don't have the resources.
And you commented that people with epilepsy.
Epilepsy. I did a national television thing a few months ago, and I received many, many phone calls from people with various illnesses. And one of my recent one was a young woman with epilepsy, and she was from New York State, couldn't drive because of the seizures, and had tried the prescribed drugs, and eventually somehow someone talked her into smoking marijuana, and she was seizure-free for 2.5 years. And if I remember right, she said 2 years in her state and she could get her driver's license back. So she was back driving.
Now, when this is used for medicinal purposes, people think that you should, is that just smoking it? You just go into the hospital room and say, okay, doctor, I want a joint or two, and you have your friends bringing it in off the street and fire it up. Is that the only way that it can be used?
No.
Is that the best way?
It's the fastest way.
Okay.
But for someone, a cancer patient, I've talked to many, and they have cancer because they smoke tobacco, and they simply cannot tolerate any other smoke in their lungs. So we can make brownies. We can make suppositories by making the butter and putting them in a capsule. And the nurses told me for children, poke holes in the capsule so that you don't have to wait quite so long for the capsule to dissolve before the ingredients get in the bloodstream. And also tea. And I'm thinking that tea, for people my age, we could drink an herbal tea without a blink of an eye.
Okay.
And I was told this summer by a man who was dying of cancer that the pain, the nausea, and the appetite, and that the tea got into his system in like 5 minutes. Now some of the other things, the brownies and the suppositories, of course the suppositories are wonderful because you don't throw them back up again.
That's true.
And the digested foods, brownies and such.
Now you said children. Now,
yes.
Realizing that hemp is an illegal substance for Americans to use, it's kind of unusual to hear someone encourage that we give this to children.
If you have a child dying and they are giving you no hope whatsoever, and this is hope, I have no problem with that at all.
Do you know of any children that have benefited from this?
I know of one child, to my knowledge, and this was about 10 years ago. And the child was so emaciated, and there was simply no other place in his body to poke a needle. And they had to stop treatment. And to stimulate his appetite, they made him brownies and teas. And he was able to go back and continue his treatment. And to the best of my knowledge, the child is alive and well today.
Wow. Very interesting. We'll be right back after this.
We thought we were. I distributed what we had, and then when it became legal, I no longer, well, I didn't have any more, and I didn't try to get any more, but it was legal. And so I still worked with the doctor, but I didn't work directly with patients using the marijuana. But eventually he stopped using it, and I was angry and hurt. And he said to me, Mae, I cannot spend more time doing paperwork than I do taking care of patients, and I have to discontinue using it. And we had 34 states where it was legal, and now every doctor in every state, not all of them received it, but the bills are dormant because the federal government made it so difficult and horrendous for the doctors to use it.
You know, what I understand too, of people who have glaucoma and are applying for
right.
The hemp for their medical
Absolutely.
purposes. From what I understand, the paperwork takes anywhere from 1 year to 2 years.
Yeah, it's horrendous. And the Mars project is attempting to, they have cut it down until a doctor can do it in about 15 minutes.
Now, from what I understand, you also testified before the DEA in 1988.
I did indeed.
And now, what came from that, and who did you speak with when you were there?
I testified in front of a Judge Francis Young, very intelligent man. And the feeling of the people that I was working with, Normal, and he was going to brush it off.
Okay.
We were going to finish our testimony, and 15 minutes later he was going to say, forget it. He didn't do that. He agonized over this for a long time. And he was only to make a recommendation to the head of DEA. He couldn't make the decision. And he recommended wholeheartedly. And he had heard people all over the United States from all different kinds of illnesses and said, in effect, for God's sakes, help these people.
And what kind of response did he receive?
The head of DEA in effect said drop dead.
Why do you think that is?
Because they're stupid.
Okay. Now, we only have a couple of minutes left, and I was wondering, you commented that people of an older generation than what I am have a problem at times being able to restructure their thinking on this plant. What do you have to say to them?
Okay, we were told, and I came from an era that if my government told me, go out and stand in the middle of the traffic, I'd probably do it, because they would never tell me anything that was harmful. And it has taken me a long time to realize this is no longer true. Maybe it never was, but I thought it was. And so therefore, it's difficult. You just, it's like a religion. You may go away from the religion that you were brought up as a child, but it's always there. And I'm not sure that I would ever be able to smoke a marijuana cigarette.
Okay, now you've talked about Mars, and there's probably a variety of people who are watching this show who'd like to have the chance to find out more about your organization, or the organization, Mars.
It's
address and phone number, please.
I don't have it. It's through ACT, Alliance for Cannabis Therapeutics, and they're based here in Washington, D.C. I do not have an address or a telephone number, but I'm sure that through normal, High Times has an ad in it. There are many places that they can contact them.
Any final comment to our audience?
Oh, go with your gut feeling. If you think you're right, go for it.
Thank you very much. It has really been a unique learning experience having Mae on our show. And I hope that the information that she brought forth is something that you can digest and share with people around you and you grow from. There are a lot of people out there who are suffering medically and need the benefits of the medicines that are derive from the hemp plant. We encourage you to write your congressmen, we encourage you to write your senators, and we encourage you to become more vocal in your community to bring this message forward. Thank you very much for tuning in. We look forward to seeing you the next time. Thank you.
Look at all that money, yeah, the money that they spend. Take another look and spend some time for him. Don't cut trees for paper, cause it hurts the environment. Stop deforestation, yes, it's time for him. Whoa, an acre of hemp makes 20 bales of oil. No need for pesticides to poison all our soil. People got no food, they got no clothes, they got no rent. Well, time for help! Yeah!
Growsentia has developed Mammoth P, an organically derived soil inoculant that maximizes phosphorus and micronutrient cycling to maximize bud growth, increase yield, and enhance plant health. Mammoth P's patent-pending technology is OMRI certified. The increased levels of phosphorus and other micronutrients result in increased stem strength and a 16% increase in harvest yield. Mammoth P is effective in soil, soilless, and hydroponic systems. This biostimulant microbial product really works synergistically with any nutrient and fertilizers in your management and feeding regime. Incorporate Mammoth P into your feeding protocols as a supplement to any fertilizer program. Mammoth P is being used by growers, commercial and hobbyists throughout the U.S. Go to mammothmicrobes.com to find a store near you or to order through one of the company's online partners. That's mammothmicrobes.com, scientifically proven to grow mammoth buds.
You are listening to the Time for Hemp Global Broadcasting Network. broadcasting network dedicated to ending the global war on drugs on iHeartRadio.